My sister called me a failure at Christmas dinner, so I revealed that I pay for her kids' college. The words hung in the air like poison as our entire extended family sat frozen around the holiday table, watching Jennifer's face transform from smug satisfaction to absolute horror. She had just finished her annual performance of listing my shortcomings in front of 20 relatives, culminating in her declaration that I was the family disappointment who never made partner at the law firm. That's when I calmly pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward everyone at the table. "Jennifer," I said with the sweetest smile I could muster, "would you like to explain to everyone how this failure has been covering Madison's community college tuition and Tyler's trade school costs for the past 8 months?" The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against her plate as red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. Her husband Dave went completely pale, and my parents stared at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Madison, who was 19 and home from her part-time college program, looked mortified as she realized her mother had been lying about paying for her education. My nephew Tyler, 17, and in his final semester of automotive training, actually choked on his food as the reality hit him. What none of them knew was that Jennifer had been blackmailing me emotionally for months. Ever since Dave lost his job at the manufacturing plant last spring, she'd shown up at my apartment in tears, threatening to pull both kids out of school unless I helped. "You don't understand what it's like to have children depending on you," she'd sobbed. "You're single. You only have yourself to worry about. We'll lose everything." I was a senior paralegal at a prestigious firm, and while I wasn't wealthy, my salary was steady enough to cover their modest educational expenses. But Jennifer had made me promise absolute secrecy, claiming she couldn't bear the shame of family knowing they needed help. Growing up, Jennifer was 2 years older, and the golden child who could do no wrong. She'd married her high school sweetheart right after graduation, had her kids young, and settled into the suburban life our parents always praised as real success. Meanwhile, I'd focused on my career, working my way up from receptionist to senior paralegal over 10 years. Every family gathering became a showcase for Jennifer's perfect family, while my professional achievements were dismissed as nice hobbies for someone without real responsibilities. The pattern had intensified after Dave lost his job in May. Instead of gratitude for my help, Jennifer seemed to resent needing me. She'd grown increasingly cruel at family events, as if putting me down somehow restored her sense of superiority. "At least some of us know what really matters in life," she'd say while discussing the kids' activities. "Career women just don't understand family sacrifice." The more I helped financially, the more vicious her attacks became, like she was punishing me for witnessing her vulnerability. Tonight had been the worst yet. Jennifer had spent the entire evening cataloging my failures in front of cousins, aunts, and uncles who rarely saw us. She'd mentioned my failed relationship with my ex-fiancé, my desperate attempts to climb the corporate ladder, and finally declared that I was proof that some women just aren't cut out for success in any form. Each insult was delivered with a sweet smile, disguised as sisterly concern that fooled everyone except me. The breaking point came when she announced that both kids were doing so well in their programs. "Madison's getting straight A's in her business courses, and Tyler's at the top of his automotive class," she beamed. "Of course, it takes real sacrifice to invest properly in your children's education. Not everyone understands that kind of commitment." She'd looked directly at me when she said it, her eyes gleaming with malicious satisfaction. That's when she'd delivered her final blow. "I just wish Victoria could understand what it means to actually contribute something meaningful instead of being such a failure at life." The accusation hit every insecurity I'd developed over years of family comparisons. Here was my sister, whose children's education I'd been secretly funding since summer, calling me a failure in front of everyone who mattered to me. She was using my own money to elevate herself while simultaneously destroying my reputation. I'd reached my breaking point, and for the first time in my life, I decided to stop protecting Jennifer from the consequences of her cruelty. As I showed everyone the bank transfers totaling over $12,000 in tuition and fees, Jennifer's carefully constructed image began to collapse in real time. My father's jaw dropped as he realized his responsible daughter had been hiding their financial crisis. My mother's face crumpled as she understood how wrong she'd been about both of her daughters. Madison burst into tears, finally understanding why her mother had been so stressed and why their lifestyle had changed so dramatically since spring. "Victoria, I can explain," Jennifer stammered, but her voice was barely a whisper. She looked around the table desperately, searching for support, but found only shocked faces staring back at her. Her perfect reputation, built on years of putting me down while secretly depending on me, was crumbling faster than she could process. The family dynamic she'd controlled through manipulation and lies was shifting before her eyes. "Actually, Jennifer," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins, "I think you've explained enough for one evening. Everyone can see exactly what's been happening here." I stood up from the table, my movements deliberate and controlled. "Madison, Tyler, you're both good kids, and you deserve better than having your education used as weapons against the person actually paying for it. But this arrangement ends today. Your mother can figure out how to fund her own superiority complex from now on." The room erupted in chaos as I walked away from the table. Jennifer was frantically trying to explain herself, while Dave sat in stunned silence, probably calculating how they'd manage without my support. Madison was crying, realizing her college plans were now uncertain. Tyler looked confused and angry, finally understanding why his mother had been so cruel to the aunt who'd been helping his family survive.